The air did not feel right. Stephen was in the middle of a spell he knew well. It was not supposed to be dangerous. It was meant to check a weak spot between worlds, then close it again. Quick, clean, controlled. But the circle of light in front of him did not stay a circle. It bent, it cracked, like glass breaking in slow motion. The sound was wrong too. It wasn't a normal crack. It was like the whole room was tearing. Stephen's eyes narrowed. His hands moved faster, trying to lock the spell down. The runes around his wrists brightened. He pulled energy back, then pushed it out in a stronger pattern. The tear answered by opening wider. A gust hit him hard. It smelled like smoke and heat, with something rotten under it. The floor under his boots pulled like a drain. Stephen shifted his stance and anchored himself with a spell. For half a second, it worked. Then something yanked the anchor out from under reality. The world flipped. He fell through darkness that was not empty. It had color in it. It had noise. It had whispers that were not words. Stephen kept his breath steady and his mind sharp. He turned his body, reached out, and drew a glowing ring in the air. A portal tried to form. It sputtered, like a lighter that would not catch. Interesting, he muttered, and then the ground rushed up. He hit a wooden floor with a heavy thud and slid a short distance. The impact hurt, but he rolled with it. The cloak snapped around him on reflex, bracing his shoulder. His hands were already moving. A wide shield burst into place, a clear wall that shimmered with orange light. Something clattered. Someone screamed. Stephen pushed up to one knee behind the shield. The room in front of him was bright and strange, full of red and gold. A big sign hung behind a front desk. He could read the name even from the floor. Hazbin Hotel. He did not know what that meant, but his instincts screamed at him like an alarm. There were people, if you could call them that, staring at him. Some had horns. Some had sharp teeth. One tall figure in a suit stood near the back, smiling like this was a show he had paid for. Another person with long white hair leaned over a couch, grinning wide. A woman with blonde hair and rosy cheeks hurried forward with her hands up. "Hi. Oh my gosh, are you okay?" she said, voice fast and warm. "You just, fell out of the air?" In front of her, a shorter woman with gray hair and a sharp expression stepped into a fighting stance. She angled her body between the blonde woman and Stephen, like a shield made of nerves and loyalty. "Charlie, stop!" the gray-haired woman snapped. That could be a trap. Stephen watched them both. He kept his shield up, but he did not attack. He took in every exit, every shadow, every angle. The tall man in the suit tilted his head. His smile did not change. His eyes stayed locked on Stephen's hands. "Well now," the man said, voice smooth but strange, like a radio signal hiding under the words. "A visitor. How delightful." The white-haired one laughed. "Visitor? Dude, he dropped in like a meteor. That's not normal even for this place." A small figure darted near Stephen's fallen circle mark on the floor. She moved too fast, like a busy insect. "Oh no, the floor. It's dirty now. Who does that?" Stephen's eyes flicked down. The mark was perfectly round, burned dark into the wood. He hated that. He hated leaving damage behind. "I mean no harm," he said. His voice was calm, firm. "I need to understand where I am." The blonde woman blinked. "You're at the Hazbin Hotel. I'm Charlie. This is—" "Don't," the gray-haired woman warned, still not lowering her guard. "You don't just tell strangers everything." The white-haired one slid closer, waving a piece of paper like it was a prize. "It's cool. I got this. Hey, Mr. Magic, just sign this little guest form. It's super normal. Totally not cursed." Stephen's eyes went to the paper, then back to the man's grin. His shield did not move. His face did not change. "No," he said. The white-haired one blinked, then laughed louder. Okay. Tough crowd." Stephen rose fully now, slow and careful. The cloak settled on his shoulders like it belonged there, because it did. The shield stayed in place a moment longer. Then he lowered it, but only halfway, keeping a thin layer of protection. Charlie relaxed a little, like she wanted to trust him. The gray-haired woman did not relax at all. Stephen reached out with his senses, the way he would in a city after a magical attack. He felt heat and rage, and something old. He felt rules that were not his world's rules. The air itself seemed to push back, like it did not want him reading it. A distant horn blasted outside. The building's windows shook. Everyone paused. Charlie's smile faded. That's not good. Stephen turned his head toward the sound. He focused. He tried to follow it, like tracing a thread. Something answered him from far away. Not a voice, not a person. A notice, like a lock clicking. Stephen's jaw tightened. "This place," he said quietly, mostly to himself, "is connected to something bigger." He looked back at Charlie, then at the gray-haired woman, then at the smiling man in the suit. "And it just noticed me." Charlie led him into a back room that looked like it was supposed to be a meeting space. The couches were old, but clean. The table had coffee stains. A few posters on the walls tried hard to look cheerful. Stephen stood near the door. It was a habit. He did not like being trapped. Charlie stayed in the center of the room, hands clasped, trying to look confident. Vaggie, Stephen had heard Charlie use her name once, stood closer to him, like she was guarding Charlie from a wild animal. The tall man in the suit followed at a slow pace, as if time belonged to him. He leaned against a wall, smiling with patient interest. Angel Dust flopped onto a couch like he owned it. Husk sat near the corner with a tired stare. Nifty kept pacing, cleaning the same spot over and over, even though it was already clean. Charlie cleared her throat. "Okay, so, hi again. I'm sorry about the whole pointing weapons at you thing." Vaggie snapped her head toward Charlie. "I'm not sorry." Charlie winced. "Vaggie." "It's fine," Stephen said. "Caution is reasonable." Vaggie watched him like she was counting his breaths. "Who are you? What are you? And why did you drop into our lobby like a bomb?" Stephen did not answer right away. He studied their faces. Charlie looked honest. Vaggie looked ready to strike if he lied. Angel looked amused, but alert. Husk looked like he had seen 100 disasters and expected this to be number 101. The tall man's smile did not move at all. Stephen chose the simplest truth that did not hand them a weapon. "My name is Stephen," he said. "I'm a doctor and a sorcerer." Angel Dust snorted. "A doctor? What, like for demons? Take 2 screams and call me in the morning?" Stephen ignored the joke. "I protect my world from threats that can break reality." Charlie's eyes widened. "Reality threats?" Vaggie's grip tightened on her spear. "Great. So you're either lying, or you brought something here." Stephen's voice stayed steady. "I did not choose to come here. I was pulled." The tall man's head tilted a little more. "Pulled," he repeated, like he liked the word. Charlie stepped closer, careful. "Okay, Stephen, we can help you. This is what we do here. We help people." Vaggie made a frustrated sound. "We run a hotel, Charlie. We don't run a magic lab." Charlie's smile returned, but it was thinner now. "We can still help. We can try." Stephen looked around the room. "I need to learn what this place is. The air feels different. The rules feel different." Nifty zoomed right up to him and pointed at his cape. "Is it alive? It moved. I saw it. Are you hiding bugs in there?" The cloak swatted her hand away gently, like a warning tap. Nifty squealed with delight. "It likes me." Husk lifted his glass slightly. It definitely doesn't. Charlie raised both hands. Okay, so we can do questions. We can do a little interview, like a welcome interview. Vaggie muttered, interrogation. Stephen's eyes flicked to the door again. He could leave, he could try. But the portal spell had sputtered earlier, and the horn outside had not been normal. He stayed. What happened after I arrived? He asked. Charlie's face tightened. That horn. It's like an alarm. Stuff happens when it blows. Angel Dust leaned back. Yeah, bad stuff, usually with feathers and murder. Stephen locked onto that. Feathers. Vaggie's expression went hard. Exorcists. Stephen did not know the term, but he understood the tone. Charlie spoke quickly, like she wanted to get it out before fear swallowed it. Heaven sends them down sometimes. They kill sinners. It's called an extermination. Stephen's stomach sank. He had fought monsters. He had fought gods. He had fought things that wore friendly faces and hid knives under their words. But the idea of organized slaughter, scheduled like a job, hit him in a cold place. And you live under that, he said. Charlie nodded. I'm trying to change it. I'm trying to prove people can be better. Vaggie's eyes flashed. And it's not safe, which is why you being here is not safe. Stephen nodded once. Understood. Alastair chuckled softly. Oh, I think it's wonderful. A new player on the board. A new kind of magic. Stephen glanced at him. You are? Alastair spread his arms in a polite bow. A friend. A helper. A humble supporter of the hotel's noble mission. Angel Dust coughed. He's a liar. Fancy liar, but still. Alastair's smile sharpened. And you, my dear, are very loud. Stephen watched the exchange. He saw the power in the room shift with Alastair's tone, like people leaned away without meaning to. That was not normal charisma. That was something else. Stephen decided to test the air without turning this into a fight. He lifted his hand and traced a small symbol. A ring of orange runes formed above the table, no bigger than a plate. The runes rotated slowly, scanning. Charlie leaned in, eyes bright. Whoa! Vaggie took a step forward. What is that doing? It's reading the local magical structure, Stephen said. Like checking the pressure before you open a door. The runes dimmed, then flared, then dimmed again. Stephen frowned. There's a lot of binding energy in this place, Angel Dust snorted. Welcome to hell, Doc. Stephen's eyes stayed on the runes. Not just hell? This building, the people, the city. There are agreements in the air. Charlie's smile faded. Deals. Husk laughed once, humorless. Everything's a deal. Stephen lowered the spell. That explains why someone offered me paper in the lobby. Angel Dust grinned and reached into his pocket. Hey, no pressure, but if you ever want to sign. Stephen looked at him. Angel Dust raised both hands. Kidding. Mostly. Vaggie folded her arms. So what's your plan, Stephen the Doctor Sorcerer? Stephen chose his words with care. First, I confirm the threat. Then I find what pulled me here. Then I seal it, if sealing it is safe. Charlie's eyes widened. Seal it? But if it's a way out for you? If it's a tear that can be used, Stephen said, it will be used, and not kindly. Alastair's smile did not move, but his eyes gleamed. Charlie stepped between them, trying to keep the room warm. Okay, we can help you investigate. But also, maybe you can help us too? You said you protect reality. What if you could protect people here? Stephen looked at Charlie. There was no trick in her voice, just hope, raw and stubborn. He respected that. He also feared it. Hope could make people brave. Hope could also get people killed. Vaggie spoke before he could answer. He's not our savior. Stephen nodded slowly. I'm not anyone's savior. Charlie's shoulders dipped, like that hurt, but she kept standing. You can still be our guest. Angel Dust clapped once. Okay, cool. We got a wizard guest. That's new. Nifty zipped across the room again, holding a tiny cloth. Do you have any magic that removes stains? We have so many stains. Stephen almost smiled. Almost. Then he felt it again. A pressure. Far away. Like a spotlight turning on. He turned his head, eyes narrowing. Someone was watching. Not from the city. From above the city. From a place that felt cold, clean and sharp, high above, in a place that did not belong to. Hell, an angelic figure watched a shimmering mark appear in a thin layer of light. It was not a person speaking yet. It was a system responding. A new signal, a new kind. This energy was not hell's. It was not heaven's either. That was the problem. A voice, proud and rough, cut through the quiet. What's that? Another angel, armored and tense, answered. An anomaly, a foreign signature. It appeared inside the princess's hotel. A laugh followed, loud and pleased. So Hell got a new toy. The first angel hesitated. Or a new weapon. The proud voice leaned closer, eyes narrowing at the mark. Either way, it does not belong there. A pause. Then the voice became hard. Prepare a strike team. Not the usual schedule. I want eyes on that hotel. The armored angel frowned. This is against protocol. Protocol is for when the world behaves, the proud voice said. This is not normal. I want it handled. The mark pulsed once, like a heartbeat. And, far below, inside the Hazbin hotel, Stephen felt the air tighten again, like a storm forming. Charlie tried to keep the meeting going, but Vaggie's tension spread like smoke. Even Husk sat up straighter. What? Vaggie asked. Stephen's voice stayed calm, but his eyes were sharp. Something is moving. Angel Dust rolled his eyes. Yeah, it's called Tuesday. Charlie swallowed. Do you think it's the extermination? Stephen did not answer with a guess. He stepped toward the hotel's front window and looked out. The streetlights outside flickered. Then the sky changed. A pale glow formed high above, like a doorway opening in the clouds. Vaggie's voice went flat with dread. Exorcists. Charlie's breath caught. No, it's not time. Stephen watched the glow. He felt the intent behind it. It was not random. It was directed. It was searching. He turned back to the room. Get everyone inside, now. Vaggie blinked. She did not like being ordered. But the tone in Stephen's voice was the tone of someone who had seen worlds fall. She moved. Charlie, Vaggie snapped. Call everyone in. Lock the doors. Charlie nodded and ran. Angel Dust jumped up, suddenly serious. Okay, wizard guy. If you can do something cool, now's the time. Stephen's hands rose. Stay behind me. Alastair's smile widened. Oh, this will be fun. Stephen did not look at him. He focused on the threat. Outside, the first angelic shapes dropped from the glowing gap, bright blades in hand. They fell like spears, and they were coming straight for the hotel. The hotel smelled like burned wood and sharp metal. The lobby was still standing, but it looked like it had been through a storm. One wall had a long crack across it, like a claw mark. The floor had deep cuts where bright weapons had struck. The front doors were warped. A few windows were gone, replaced by rough boards and shaky curtains. Stephen stood near the scorch, circle where he had landed. His orange light still clung to the edges of the room in thin lines. Those lines were not for show. They were warnings. Wards. A simple message to the air. Do not break in again. Charlie moved from person to person, checking on them. She kept her smile on, but it was not the same smile as before. It looked tired now. Still kind. Still brave. But tired. Vaggie walked with her, one step behind, eyes sharp. She kept looking at the ceiling, then at the doors, then at Stephen, like she was waiting for the next strike. Angel Dust leaned against a pillar with a bandage around one arm. He tried to joke, but his laugh kept dying early. Husk sat on the stairs with a bruise on his cheek, holding a cup that did not look like it had anything warm in it. His eyes were half-lidded, but they tracked everything. Nifty was cleaning the floor so hard it looked like she wanted to erase what happened. And Alastair stood near the front desk, hands behind his back, smiling like the whole thing had been a fun concert. Stephen did not like that smile. He looked down at the marks again. He remembered the angelic blades, bright and clean, cutting through the air like they owned it. He remembered the way the leader's voice carried, loud and proud, like a bully with a crown. He had not given them what they wanted. He had protected the hotel. He had pushed the fight away from the streets. He had done it the safest way he could. But the cost was still here. Charlie returned to him at last. She rubbed her hands together like she was cold, even though the air was hot. You stopped them, she said softly. For now, Stephen said. Vaggie's jaw tightened. They came early. That's not normal. Stephen nodded. They reacted to me. Charlie flinched. So this is my fault. It's not, Stephen said at once. His tone was firm. He did not soften it, because he needed her to hear it. They chose to attack. They chose to bring their violence here. Vaggie's eyes narrowed. But he's the reason they noticed us right now. Stephen did not argue. Yes, I'm a factor. Charlie stared at him for a moment. A factor, she repeated, like the word tasted bad. Stephen's fingers flexed once. He wanted to reach out and fix everything. He wanted to seal the sky. He wanted to break the system that let killers drop from above on a schedule. He could not do that with a single spell. Not without learning the rules first. He glanced toward the shattered window. Outside, the city flickered with neon and smoke. It did not look like a normal city. It looked like a city built from anger and noise. And yet, people lived in it. People laughed in it. People feared in it. He heard footsteps behind him. Angel Dust slid closer, quieter than usual. So, Doc, Angel said, voice low. You ever see feathers like that before? Stephen kept his eyes on the city. I've seen many kinds of soldiers. Angels, mouth twisted. These ones don't care who they cut. They don't care if you're trying to be better or not. They just come down and do it. Stephen turned his head slightly. And you all just wait for it? Charlie's voice rose from behind them. We try not to. We hide. We survive. And I'm trying to change it. Vaggie stepped in. And you almost got everyone killed. Charlie's eyes flashed. Don't. Vaggie's chest rose and fell hard. Charlie, I watched you run toward them. You ran toward them, like you thought being nice would stop a blade. Charlie's mouth opened, then closed. Her shoulders shook once. Then she steadied herself. I ran because people were in the street, Charlie said. Because I can't be the princess of anything if I let people die. Stephen watched her closely. He had seen heroes with power. He had seen leaders with titles. Charlie had both. But she moved like she carried a weight that was heavier than either. Poem spoke carefully. You have courage, he said. But courage needs strategy. Vaggie stared at him. And strategy needs trust. Stephen met her gaze. Yes. That was the first real truth between them. Later, Charlie gathered everyone in the meeting room again. Not everyone in the hotel. Just the core group who kept showing up like they were the center of the storm. Stephen stayed near the door again. He noticed Vaggie noticed it. Charlie stood at the table and took a breath. Okay, We need a plan. Because this is not going away. Husk lifted his cup. Plans are cute. They don't stop heaven knives. Charlie's voice cracked. Husk, please. Husk sighed and lowered the cup. Sorry, I'm just tired. Angel Dust raised a hand. I vote we blame Wizard Guy and kick him out. Vaggie snapped her head around. No. Angel blinked. Wow. Did not expect that from you. Vaggie's eyes stayed hard. If he leaves, they still know we exist. They still know where we are. And now, we lose the only person who can make shields that stop those blades. Charlie nodded quickly. Exactly. Stephen did not feel proud. He felt responsible. Charlie looked at him. Stephen, can you tell us what you are? Like, what kind of magic that was? Stephen chose simple beats again. I learned to shape energy. I can open doors. I can build barriers. I can trap threats in controlled spaces. I can see patterns that most people can't. Alastair's smile sharpened. A very useful skill. Stephen ignored him. Charlie leaned forward. And you said you protect reality. Yes. Vaggie's voice cut in. Then protect ours. Stephen looked at her. I don't even know the borders of your reality yet. Vaggie didn't blink. Learn fast. Stephen nodded once. That's what I intend to do. Charlie's hope flickered back. So we work together. We protect the hotel. We protect people. And we keep. Going with the Redemption Project, Husk grunted. Redemption Project. Charlie's eyes softened. Yes, because if we stop now, then they win twice. They win with blades, and they win by making us give up. Stephen watched her hands. They were trembling, but she held them steady on the table. He spoke. I will help defend this building, and I will investigate what pulled me here. But I won't make promises I can't keep. Angel Dust leaned back. He won't sign promises. Stephen's eyes flicked to him. Angel grinned. Sorry. Couldn't resist. Charlie looked confused. Sign? Vaggie's face tightened. It's a thing here. Alastair chuckled. Oh, it's more than a thing. Stephen folded his hands behind his back. I've already been offered paper more than once. Nifty zipped in with a stack of napkins like they were legal forms. You can sign with glitter. Stephen's voice stayed calm. No. Charlie let out a small laugh, but it faded fast. Stephen felt the air shift again. It was subtle, like a draft in a sealed room. He didn't react outwardly, but his mind logged it. Something in hell was adjusting. Something in heaven was watching. And something else, something closer, was already trying to figure out how to use him. Across the city, in a tower filled with screens, Vox leaned forward in his chair. His face was bright, sharp, and confident. The glow from the monitors made his grin look wider than it should be. On the screens, the Hazbin Hotel played on loop. The broken windows, the scorch marks, a shaky shot of a man in a cloak throwing up orange light. Vox tapped the screen with one finger. The image paused right on Stephen's face. Look at him, Vox said, voice smooth as oil. New, shiny, not from here. Velvet sat nearby, legs crossed, scrolling through her own feed. The comments are crazy. People are scared. People are excited. People want a name. Valentino's laugh came from the shadows. A name means a leash. Vox's eyes gleamed. Exactly. We don't need to fight him head on. Not yet. We need to frame him. We need to make the city see him the way we want. Velvet smirked. Hero? Villain? Disaster? Pet? Vox leaned back, hands behind his head. Whatever sells. Valentino stepped into the light, grin sharp. Find out what he wants. Vox's screen flickered. He replayed the moment Stephen refused the paper in the lobby. Vox laughed softly. Oh, this one is going to be fun. High above, in a clean space that felt like cold stone and sharp light, Adam stared at a glowing mark. The mark was the same foreign signature. It pulsed like a wound that would not close. Adam's mouth curled. He blocked my team. An armored angel shifted nearby. He used containment. He moved the fight away from the streets. Adam scoffed. So he's smart. He may be dangerous, the angel said. Adam's eyes narrowed. He's not one of them. He's not one of us. That makes him a problem. The armored angel hesitated. Do we wait until the next extermination window? Adam slammed a fist onto the table. The light trembled. No, we don't wait. We don't let a foreign power settle in. We find out what he is. We find out his name. And we take control of the situation. The angel lowered their gaze. Understood. Adam leaned closer to the pulsing mark. If he thinks he can stand in our path, he's about to learn how this works. Back at the hotel, Stephen sat alone in a room Charlie had offered him. It was not fancy. The wallpaper peeled in places. The bed creaked if you looked at it wrong. But it was a room with 4 walls. That mattered. He stood in the center and lifted both hands. Orange symbols formed in the air. Not big, not flashy. Precise, like a surgeon's cuts. He began placing wards. A line along the doorframe. A line along the window. A line across the floor, hidden under the wood, tucked into the building's structure. The cloak hovered near his shoulder, watching the hall like a guard dog. Stephen's mind stayed sharp as his hands moved. He tested the air again. He tried to open a portal. A small orange ring formed. It wobbled. The edges frayed. He pushed more power into it. The ring steadied for a moment, then snapped shut with a faint pop. Stephen frowned. This was not a weakness in him. He could open doors across planets when the rules allowed it. He could cut through distance like it was paper. But here, the paper was not his. He changed the spell slightly, adding a stabilizer rune. The ring formed again. It lasted longer. Then a chill crawled up his arms, like unseen hands touching the spell. Stephen shut it down at once. He took a slow breath. Binding, he murmured. A knock came at the door. Stephen turned. Come in. Vaggie stepped inside without waiting. She closed the door behind her and leaned against it, arms folded. You're putting spells on our hotel, she said. I'm reinforcing it, Stephen replied. Vaggie's eyes moved over the faint orange lines. You could also be trapping us. Stephen looked at her, calm and direct. If I wanted to trap you, you wouldn't see it, and I wouldn't do it in a room I'm staying in. Vaggie's expression did not soften, but the point landed. She stared at him for a long moment. Why didn't you kill them? Stephen blinked once. What? The angels, Vaggie said. You could have. I saw what you can do. You could have cut them, burned them, dropped them into some hole forever. Stephen's face tightened slightly. I don't kill if I don't have to. Vaggie's voice rose. They kill us. Stephen's eyes stayed steady. Yes. Silence filled the room. Vaggie's voice lowered. So why? Stephen's answer was simple. Because I've seen what killing does to people who think it's for the right reason. It changes them. It teaches their hands a habit that's hard to stop. Vaggie looked away for a second, jaw clenched. This place already changes people. Stephen nodded. That's why I won't let it change me. Vaggie's eyes snapped back to him. And what about Charlie? She will run into danger again. She will keep hoping. And hope doesn't stop blades. Stephen's voice softened just a little. Then we teach her how to keep hope and still survive. Vaggie studied him like she was looking for a crack. What do you want? Stephen didn't hesitate. To stop a tear between realities from being used as a weapon. Vaggie's eyes narrowed. That's it? That's enough, Stephen said. Vaggie pushed off the door. If you betray her, I'll find a way to end you. Stephen didn't flinch. I believe you. She paused, surprised by that. Then she opened the door. Good. She left. Stephen watched the door close. He felt no anger, only a tight sense of pressure. Trust was not given here. It was earned. And even then, it could be taken back. Later that night, Charlie climbed up to the rooftop. The city stretched out below, loud and glowing. Far away there was music. Closer, there were sirens. Above, the sky looked like a bruise made of neon. Charlie hugged herself against the wind. She could still see the bright blade coming down. She could still hear the scream of metal on magic. She did not want to admit how scared she had been. She heard footsteps behind her. Stephen approached slowly and stopped a few steps away. He did not crowd her. He did not force comfort. He just stood, hands clasped behind his back, cloak fluttering lightly. You're awake, Charlie said. So are you, Stephen replied. Charlie tried to smile. Yeah, kinda hard to sleep after, you know. Stephen nodded. Charlie stared out at the city again. They came early because of you. Stephen did not deny it. Yes. Charlie's voice dropped. So, maybe you should leave. If you leave, they might stop. Stephen's eyes stayed on the skyline. They already came early. That means the rule can be broken. Even if I leave, they will remember it can be broken. Charlie swallowed. So we're stuck. Stephen turned his head slightly. Not stuck, pressured. Charlie looked at him. That doesn't feel better. Stephen's mouth almost curved. Almost. It's not meant to. Charlie sighed and leaned on the railing. I just wanted to help. I wanted to show them, show everyone that people can change. That we're not just what we did before. Stephen's gaze sharpened. Do you believe that? Charlie's answer came fast. Yes. Stephen's voice was quiet. Then you will keep trying even if you fail. Charlie looked down. Probably. Stephen watched her for a moment. In my world, I've seen people who should have changed, but didn't. I've also seen people who seemed hopeless, and then surprised everyone. Charlie's eyes lifted. So you think it's possible? Stephen nodded once. Yes, I think it's possible. I also think it's hard, and I think this place has systems that fight against it. Charlie frowned. Systems. Rules, Stephen said. Deals. Pressure. Fear. Charlie's face tightened. Deals. Yeah. Stephen leaned his elbows on the railing too, but he kept distance. Someone tried to hand me a form the moment I arrived. Charlie made a small, sad laugh. Welcome to hell. Stephen's eyes stayed calm. In my work, names matter. Promises matter. Consent matters. If this place runs on deals, then someone will try to make a deal for me. Charlie's expression turned serious. You won't. Stephen's voice was steady. I don't sign anything I didn't write. Charlie blinked, then smiled. A real smile this time. Small but genuine. Okay. Good. Because if someone gets you on their side, Stephen finished the thought for her, then this becomes worse. Charlie nodded slowly. Worse than angels. Stephen looked up at the sky. Much worse. A silence stretched. Then Charlie spoke again, softer. Stephen, are you lonely? Stephen's fingers tightened once on the railing. It was a strange question. Simple. Honest. He answered with the truth he could afford. Duty can be lonely. Charlie nodded like she understood. Yeah. Hope can be lonely too. Stephen glanced at her. For the first time, he did not just see a princess in hell. He saw a person trying to hold a candle in a storm. He respected that. He also knew storms often tried to snuff candles out. He would not let that happen if he could help it. The next day, the city's screens lit up. Not all at once, not in a clean pattern, more like a sickness spreading. In the hotel lobby, an old television that nobody remembered turning on suddenly flickered. Vaggie snapped her head toward it. "Turn it off." Angel Dust grabbed a remote and clicked the button. Nothing happened. The screen brightened. Vox's face appeared, huge and smiling. "Good morning, Hell." Vox's voice boomed through tinny speakers. "We have a special story today. A story about the princess's little hotel and her brand new mystery guest." Charlie rushed in. "What is this?" Husk groaned. "Great. The news." Vox leaned closer to the camera, eyes shining. "He fell from the sky. He threw up glowing shields. He stopped an exorcist team. And now he's sitting in Charlie Morningstar's lobby like he pays rent." Angel Dust scoffed. "He doesn't even sign rent." Steven stepped forward. His expression did not change, but his eyes went colder. Vox grinned wider. "Who is he? Where did he come from? And why did the angels break schedule to come early?" Vaggie's voice was low and sharp. "He's trying to turn us into content." Charlie's face turned pale. "This will bring more trouble." Vox snapped his fingers on screen. The video shifted. A slow-motion clip played of Steven's orange light spreading across the street. "He's powerful," Vox purred. "And in hell, power always belongs to someone. The question is, who will claim him first?" Steven lifted one hand. A small orange symbol formed. He did not attack the screen. He traced a quiet pattern in the air. The television hissed. The image warped. Vox's grin stretched, then snapped away into static. The speakers went silent. Nifty clapped. "Yay! Quiet!" Husk raised his cup. "Thanks." Charlie stared at Steven. "You can just shut him off?" Steven nodded. "For a moment. Not forever." Vaggie stepped closer. "What did you do?" "A block," Steven said, "like putting a curtain over a window." Angel Dust frowned. "So he can still see us?" Steven's eyes narrowed. "Yes." And that meant Vox was not just making noise. He was hunting. That night, Steven made his decision. He could not keep reacting. He needed to move first. He gathered Charlie, Vaggie, Angel, and Husk in the meeting room. Nifty hovered nearby, pretending not to listen while cleaning the same spoon. Alastair was there too, of course. Always there, like a shadow that learned how to smile. Steven spoke calmly. "I need to locate the anchor point of the tear that brought me here." Charlie blinked. "Anchor point?" "The place the tear is tied to," Steven explained. "A fixed point in this reality. If I find it, I can study it. I can seal it or reinforce it." Vaggie crossed her arms. "So you want to go out into the city?" "Yes," Steven said. Angel Dust threw his hands up. "Nope." "No, absolutely not. I almost got sliced yesterday. I'm not getting sliced by whatever else is out there." Steven didn't look at him. "You don't have to come." Angel Dust paused. "Oh." Charlie stepped forward. "I'll come." Vaggie snapped. "No." Charlie's eyes flashed. "Yes." Vaggie stepped in close. "Charlie, you are not going out there with a stranger wizard who brought angels to our door." Steven held up one hand, not in threat, in pause. "Vaggie," he said. "You should come." Vaggie blinked. "What?" Steven's voice stayed even. "You don't trust me. You won't. Not yet. If you come, you can watch every move I make. You can stop me if you think I'm doing something wrong." Vaggie's mouth tightened. She hated that it made sense. Charlie looked between them, hope and fear mixing in her eyes. Alastair chuckled. "How wonderfully practical." Husk sighed. "If you all die, I'm not cleaning it up." Angel Dust pointed at Husk. "Wow, Husk pointed back. Truth. Stephen's gaze moved to Charlie. I won't promise safety, but I will plan for it, and I will protect you if you choose to come. Charlie nodded slowly. Okay. Vaggy's voice turned sharp again. Where is this anchor point supposed to be? Stephen's eyes focused on a spot only he could see. Somewhere old. Somewhere tied to binding. Alastair's smile widened. Oh, I might have an idea. Stephen turned toward him at once. You will not lead this. Alastair placed a hand on his chest like he was wounded. Me? Why, I'm simply offering local knowledge. Stephen's tone was flat. And local traps. Alastair's eyes gleamed. Fair. Charlie swallowed. Do we even have a choice? Stephen's answer was simple. If we don't act, others will. Vaggy's eyes narrowed. Like heaven. Stephen nodded. And like the people with screens. Angel Dust groaned. Ugh, screens guy is the worst. Stephen looked at them all. So we move first. And in the quiet that followed, everyone understood the truth. The hotel was not just a hotel anymore. It was a target. And it was a battlefield. The next morning, Stephen turned his room into something closer to a sanctuary. He did not change the furniture. He did not decorate. He did not try to make it pretty. He made it safe. Orange lines crawled across the walls like careful stitching. Symbols rested in the corners. A circle was drawn under the rug, hidden from casual eyes. Charlie stood in the doorway, watching with wonder. Vaggy stood behind her, arms crossed, watching with suspicion. This is amazing, Charlie whispered. It's not amazing, Stephen said. It's necessary. Charlie stepped in, careful not to touch anything. Does it keep angels out? It slows them, Stephen replied. It warns me. It gives us time. Vaggy's eyes moved over the symbols. And does it keep demons out? Stephen glanced at her. It keeps threats out. Vaggy didn't look satisfied, but she didn't argue. Stephen lifted his hand and formed a small orange disk in the air. On it, faint lines appeared, like a map. Charlie leaned in. Is that the city? A rough reading, Stephen said. Not perfect, but enough. He watched the map shift. Certain areas glowed stronger, like knots in a rope. Those are places with heavy binding, he said. Places where deals were made, where names were taken, where rules were written into the air. Charlie's face tightened. Like the Overlord's places. Stephen nodded. Vaggy's voice was sharp. So you're walking us into a nest. Stephen's response was calm. We're walking near it, not into it. Angel Dust popped his head into the room. Hey, wizard, if we're going into a nest, I'm bringing bug spray. Stephen didn't look at him. You said you weren't coming. Angel shrugged. I changed my mind. Vaggy glared. Why? Angel's grin flickered. For a second, it wasn't a grin. Because if this is about deals, then maybe it's about people like me. Silence fell. Charlie's eyes softened. Angel. Angel waved a hand like it was nothing. Don't get sappy. I just don't like screen guy talking about claiming someone. I'm claimed enough. Stephen's gaze sharpened. He didn't push. He just stored the information. Binding. Claims. Deals. This was not abstract. It was personal. He nodded once. Then stay close. Angel blinked, surprised. Okay. Vaggy muttered. This is going to be a disaster. Stephen glanced at her. Probably. Vaggy frowned. You're not even pretending? Stephen's voice stayed steady. Pretending gets people hurt. Charlie exhaled, then lifted her chin. Okay. We do this smart. Stephen nodded. We do this smart. They left the hotel through a side exit. The street outside smelled like smoke and oil. Signs blinked and buzzed. A distant train screamed on rusted tracks. Charlie walked with purpose, but she stayed close. Vaggie moved like a guard, always half a step ahead, scanning corners. Angel Dust tried to act, relaxed, but his eyes kept darting to rooftops. Husk had refused to come, but he had demanded they take a radio and promised, in his own grumpy way, to watch for trouble from the hotel. Stephen kept his senses open. The air pressed against them. It was thick with stories, with promises. He saw a group of demons on a corner arguing over a paper. He saw someone shove another person and point at a signature line. He saw fear flicker every time a name was said too loudly. Names mattered here more than they should. As they moved deeper into the city, screens began to appear. Small ones, old ones, big ones hanging from buildings like giant eyes. Vaggie growled, "I hate this part." Charlie frowned. "Vox's area." Angel Dust made a gagging sound. "Yep. Welcome to the land of ads and lies." Stephen's jaw tightened. He did not like being watched by machines. Machines were easy to hack. But the way these screens felt, it wasn't just technology. It was influence. It was a kind of magic made from attention. A screen above them flickered to life. Vox's face appeared again. "Ah," Vox said, voice dripping with delight. "And there he is, the mystery man in red." Charlie froze. "How is he?" Vaggie snapped. "Keep moving!" Stephen did not look up at the screen. He raised 2 fingers and traced a fast symbol. The screen hissed. Vox's face distorted, but instead of going dark, the image split. Vox's grin turned into dozens of grins, all on different screens, all around them. "You can mute one," Vox said, voice now coming from everywhere. "But you can't mute the city." Angel Dust cursed under his breath. "Ugh." Charlie's eyes widened. "Stephen." "I know," Stephen said. He stepped forward into the middle of the street and lifted both hands. Orange circles formed in the air like wheels. The symbols spun, then locked. A thin dome of light expanded outward, like an invisible bubble. Every screen around them crackled at once. Some went dark. Some fought back, flashing bright as if angry. Vox laughed. "Oh, he's fun!" Vaggie grabbed Charlie's wrist. "We need cover." Stephen turned his head slightly. "No, we need space." He snapped one portal open behind a broken car. Another opened on the other side of the street. He did not use them to escape yet. He used them to redirect. A sharp burst of energy fired from a rooftop, something like an electric spear. Stephen's portal caught it and threw it into the empty sky. Charlie stared. "You can do that?" "Yes," Stephen said. "Move." They moved. Vox's voice followed them, smiling. "Where are you going, Doctor?" Stephen's eyes narrowed. He hadn't told anyone here that title. His stomach went cold. Vaggie noticed his change at once. "What?" Stephen didn't answer. He kept walking, but his mind raced. He had said he was a doctor. Charlie had heard it. The hotel had heard it. Vox could have learned it from broadcasts, but the way Vox said it felt like a test, like a hook. A partial name was still dangerous in a place built on deals. Stephen tightened his wards around his own spirit, like pulling a coat closed. They turned down an alley, then another. The map in Stephen's mind kept pulling him toward a knot of binding energy ahead. An old building loomed into view. It looked like a courthouse that had lost a war. Broken pillars, cracked stone, a huge door with faded carvings. Charlie whispered, "What is this?" Angel Dust's voice went tight. "Oh no." Vaggie's eyes narrowed. "You know it." Angel swallowed. "It's an old registry. People used to go here for deals. Big deals. The kind that stick." Stephen felt the air around the building like a hand closing. "This is it," Stephen said. "A strong anchor." Charlie's face paled. Then why is Vox here too? A screen on the building's wall flickered alive. Vox's grin filled it. Because you walked right into my favorite kind of room. The courthouse door creaked open by itself. Inside, the dark waited like a mouth. Vaggie lifted her spear. Trap. Stephen nodded. Yes. Angel Dust swallowed hard. So, we leave? Stephen's eyes stayed on the doorway. If we leave, we learn nothing. If we go in, we control the angle. Charlie's hands shook, but she clenched them into fists. We go in. Vaggie looked like she wanted to argue, but she didn't. She just moved closer to Charlie. Stephen stepped forward first. The cloak fluttered like it was ready to bite. They entered. The inside of the courthouse was colder than outside. Old desks sat in rows, covered in dust. Shelves lined the walls, filled with books that looked more like ledgers than stories. The air smelled like ink, even though no ink should still smell after so long. Stephen's senses flared. The binding energy here was thick, layered on itself like pages glued together. This place remembers, he said, quietly. Charlie's voice was barely a whisper. That's creepy, Vaggie muttered. Welcome to hell. They moved deeper. Then the door slammed shut behind them. A laugh echoed through the hall, not Vox's this time. This laugh was warmer, smoother, like it belonged in a theater. Lights snapped on overhead. Not real lights. Screen light. Vox's face appeared on a wall of monitors at the far end, and beside him, other faces flickered in and out. A stylish girl with sharp eyes. A tall man with a grin that made Angel stiffen. The V's. Charlie's voice went tight. They're all here. Vox leaned forward. Of course we are. This is history, baby. Velvet's voice cut in, playful and cruel. He's even prettier up close. Valentino's laugh rolled through the speakers. Bring him a pen. A drawer slid open nearby by itself. A clipboard floated out into the air, holding a clean sheet of paper. A pen followed, spinning slowly like a lure. Angel Dust's breath hitched. Charlie stared, frozen. Vaggie growled. Don't you dare. Stephen's eyes locked on the paper. He didn't move toward it. He didn't flinch away either. He lifted his hand. Orange light formed into a small lens, like a round glass. He held it up and looked at the paper through it. The paper wasn't blank. It was covered in tiny writing, layered under the surface like hidden veins. Lines that looped around words and returned to the signature space again and again, like traps waiting for a footstep. Stephen's voice was calm, but cold. No. Vox's grin widened. Just a form. Stephen lowered the lens. A form is a weapon when the rules are built to punish the one who signs. Valentino's voice turned sharp. He's smart. Velvet laughed. Smart is still breakable. The air in the room shifted. Screens flickered. A low hum filled the hall, like power building. Stephen felt the trap now. Not just paper. Not just screens. The building itself was waking up. He spoke fast but clear. Charlie, stay close. Vaggie, watch the doors. Angel, don't touch anything. Angel Dust's voice cracked. Believe me, I'm not touching anything. Then the floor lit up. A circle of red symbols flared under their feet. Not Stephen's symbols, not orange, not his style. Binding runes. They rose like heat, wrapping around the air. Charlie gasped. What is that? Stephen's eyes narrowed. A contract circle. They're trying to lock us in. Vaggie slammed her spear into the floor, trying to break the runes. The runes held. Screens blared brighter. Vox's voice boomed. Let's see what you can do, Doctor. Stephen's jaw tightened again. He had to stop letting that word hit him. He lifted both hands. Orange shields formed around them, layered like overlapping plates. The red binding runes pressed against the shields. For a moment, it was a hard push against a hard wall. Then the runes changed. They slid. They adapted, like something thinking. Stephen's eyes widened slightly. It's learning. Vox laughed. It's broadcasting. Stephen understood the danger. If Vox could spread the pattern, he could spread the trap. Stephen spun a portal open above them, then another below. He tried to drop the whole binding circle through the floor into an empty pocket space. The portal resisted. It held, but it felt sticky, like the air itself was gripping his spell. Stephen adjusted, adding a stabilizer rune and a counterbind. The portal snapped open wider. The red rune screamed, brightening. Then the courthouse shook. A crack of white light split the ceiling. Everyone looked up. Charlie's mouth opened. No. A sharp, clean voice echoed down like a blade. There! Vaggy's face drained of color. Angels. Stephen's mind raced. This was coordinated. Vox had lured them in. The V's had tried to bind him, and Heaven had chosen this moment to strike. 2 threats at once. Not because they were allies, because they both wanted the same thing. Him. Stephen lifted his hands higher. Stay behind me, he said. Then he did something dangerous and precise. He unfolded the space. The courthouse hall bent. Walls stretched. The room expanded without breaking. Mirror-like space, shaped to fit the building's footprint, wrapping around the trap like a glove. The screens flickered as their signals tried to keep up. Vox's voice jolted. Hey, Stephen cut him off. Quiet. Orange lines snapped through the air like stitches. Screens went dark one by one. Not all, but enough. Then the ceiling crack widened. An exorcist dropped through, blade raised. Stephen met the blade with a shield so dense it rang like a bell. The exorcist slammed into it and bounced back, eyes wide. Charlie stared, heart pounding. She had seen angels before. She had seen them kill. But she had never seen one hit an invisible wall and look confused. More exorcists followed, landing, with deadly grace. And then a larger figure stepped through the tear, bright and sure of himself. Adam. He looked around at the warped hall, at the broken screens, at the orange light. His grin turned mean. There you are. Vox's face reappeared on a single surviving monitor. Well, you brought friends. Adam glanced at the screen like it was dirt. Stay out of this. Valentino's voice snarled through the speakers. That's cute. Adam didn't answer. He looked at Stephen. Who are you? Adam demanded. What's your name? Stephen's voice stayed calm. Someone who won't be your trophy. Adam stepped forward, blade glowing. Everything in this realm is a trophy. Stephen lifted one hand. A binding spell snapped around Adam's wrist, orange bands locking tight. Adam laughed and flexed. The bands held for half a second. Then a surge of white light ripped them apart. Stephen's eyes narrowed. Charlie's stomach dropped. He broke. It. Vaggy's voice was sharp. Heaven rules. Stephen didn't argue. He moved. He opened a portal at Adam's left. Another behind Adam. He tried to twist Adam's path, to make him fall into an empty space. Adam caught himself mid-step like his body didn't obey normal physics either. He planted his feet on nothing for a moment, then kicked off the air and drove forward. Stephen met him with a shield and a counterforce spell that pushed like a giant hand. Adam skidded back, boots scraping sparks. His grin widened. Now we're talking. Behind them, exorcists attacked. Charlie's hands flared with her own power, bright and hot. She struck one back, not killing, but knocking them away from Angel, who was frozen in fear. Vaggy moved like a blade herself, fast and focused. And in the corner, the surviving screen flickered with Velvet's laughter, like they were watching a game. Stephen's mind tracked everything at once. He saw Charlie's fear, Vagi's rage, Angel's panic, Adam's pride, Vox's hunger. He made a decision. He couldn't win by brute force here. Not cleanly. Not with civilians and friends around. He had to control the field. Stephen clapped his hands once. The sound cracked through the air like a command. Orange circles formed beneath every exorcist's feet. Portals. They dropped through. Not into death, not into hellfire, into separate containment pockets. Small, safe, isolated spaces where they couldn't reach anyone else yet. Adam lunged. Stephen opened a portal under Adam too. Adam twisted and avoided it, but his foot clipped the edge. The portal bit like a jaw. For the first time, Adam's grin faltered. Stephen seized that moment. He didn't try to crush Adam. He didn't try to kill him. He tried to move him. Stephen threw a portal open behind Adam, then another above the far end of the hall. He lined them like a chute. Then he struck Adam with a force spell that hit like a truck. Adam flew through the portal. He came out the other side, slamming into a wall of orange light that Stephen had shaped into a cage. Adam hit the cage and roared, furious. Charlie stared, breath shaking. You trapped him. For now, Stephen said, sweat forming on his brow. The cage shook under Adam's strikes. The V's screen flickered wildly, like the broadcast couldn't decide where to look. Vox's voice turned sharp. That is amazing. Stephen snapped his fingers. The last screen went black. Silence. For a moment, the hall was only orange light, heavy breathing, and Adam's furious pounding. Vagi held her spear ready. Charlie stood with her hands still glowing, eyes wide. Angel Dust stared at Stephen like he had just watched a mountain move. Stephen's voice was tight, controlled. We leave. Now. Charlie blinked. But the anchor... Stephen cut her off. It's here. I can feel it. But we're not staying in a three-way fight. Vagi nodded at once. Agreed. They moved fast. Stephen traced symbols as they ran, sealing portals behind them, locking pockets, collapsing paths. He knew he couldn't keep Adam contained forever. Adam was too strong, too stubborn, and too sure he was right. But he could buy time. They reached the far end of the hall, where an old desk sat beneath a cracked statue. Stephen felt the anchor like a nail in the air. He yanked the desk drawer open. Inside was a thick ledger, bound in dark leather, with metal corners. It hummed. Charlie leaned close, voice shaking. That's it? Stephen didn't answer. He held up his orange lens again and looked at the ledger. The pages weren't just paper. They were layered with names. And those names weren't just ink. They felt like chains. Angel Dust made a small, broken sound. That's like... Stephen's eyes narrowed. A registry. Vagi's voice was hard. A contract book. Stephen touched the cover with one finger. Careful. The ledger responded. Page flipped by itself. A blank line appeared, waiting, and above it, faint words formed, like the book was trying to guess. Doctor. Stephen's blood went cold. Charlie whispered, It's writing you. Stephen jerked his hand back. It's trying! Vagi hissed. Don't let it! Adam's cage shook again. A crack formed in the orange light. Stephen's voice snapped into command. We take the ledger. Charlie blinked. Can we? Stephen didn't wait for agreement. He wrapped the ledger in orange bands like sealed tape. Then he placed it inside a small pocket dimension charm, an orange cube of space that folded around the object without crushing it, not destroying it, holding it. He could feel the ledger pushing back, like it hated being moved. They sprinted for the exit. The doors were still locked. Vagi slammed her shoulder into them. Nothing. Stephen traced a symbol in the air, and cut a doorway through the wall instead. They burst into the alley outside. Behind them, the courthouse shook. A roar split the air as Adam broke free from the cage. Stephen didn't look back. He opened a portal. "Go," he said. Charlie and Vaggie jumped through. Angel Dust stumbled, then followed. Stephen stepped through last. The portal closed, and the alley vanished like it had never existed. They landed back in the hotel's warded room. Charlie nearly fell, then caught herself. Her hands shook. Her face was pale. Vaggie paced once, then stopped. Spear still raised like she expected the walls to turn on them. Angel Dust collapsed onto the bed and stared at the ceiling. "I hate my life." Stephen stood in the center of the room, breathing hard. Sweat clung to his brow. The cloak hovered close, protective. Charlie's voice was small. "Adam is going to be so angry." Stephen nodded. "Yes." Vaggie's voice was sharp. "And Vox?" Stephen nodded again. "Yes." Charlie looked at Stephen's hands. "And that book, that ledger, it tried to write you." Stephen's jaw tightened. He reached into the pocket charm and pulled the ledger out, still wrapped in orange bands. He placed it on the floor inside a circle of wards. The air around it tightened. Charlie leaned forward, fear and curiosity mixing. "What is it?" Stephen spoke slowly, like each word was a brick in a wall. "It's a mechanism, a system, a way this reality binds people through names and permission." Angel Dust's laugh was bitter. "Permission? Yeah, sure." Stephen looked at him. Not always true permission. Angel's grin flickered, then died. He looked away. Vaggie stared at the ledger. "So if someone writes your name," Stephen nodded. "If they get the right kind of name, and the right kind of binding, yes." Charlie's face tightened. "But you didn't sign." Stephen's eyes stayed hard. "And I won't." He lifted his orange lens again and examined the hidden text. The ledger wasn't just trying to guess. Doctor. It was reaching. It was fishing for identity, like the act of being near it gave it clues. Stephen pulled back at once and reinforced the ward circle. Charlie whispered, "Can we destroy it?" Stephen paused. He wanted to say yes. He wanted it to be simple. He looked at the ledger again with his senses, and he felt something worse. Threads. The ledger was tied to the city, not as a book sitting in a drawer, as a node, a knot in a huge net of deals and rules. If he ripped it out violently, it wouldn't just break paper. It would tear at the net. And the net held souls. He shook his head. "Not safely. Not yet." Vaggie's voice turned harsh. "So what do we do?" Stephen took a slow breath. "We contain it. We study it. We build a seal around it that it cannot rewrite." Charlie swallowed. "And while we do that, heaven and the overlords will try again." Stephen met her eyes. "Yes." Charlie's shoulders shook. She looked like she wanted to cry, but she didn't. She straightened. "Then we keep going." Vaggie looked at Charlie, then back at Stephen. "If this book is tied to the city, you just made the hotel the center of something bigger." Stephen didn't deny it. "Yes." Angel Dust sat up, eyes tired. "So we're famous now." Nifty popped her head in the doorway. "Are we dead?" Charlie forced a smile. "Not yet." Nifty clapped. "Yay." Stephen stared at the ledger. He could feel it pulsing, like a heart that didn't belong to anybody. Outside, the city's noise continued, and in the spaces between that noise, Stephen could feel a tension. Heaven's attention. Hell's attention. And something else, too. A smiling presence, patient and amused. A laster, like he was waiting for the next move. Stephen tightened the wards again. He didn't say it out loud, but the truth sat in his mind like a stone. This universe now saw him as a central piece, and central pieces always got pulled, or claimed, or broken. He would not let that happen. Not to himself, not to Charlie, not to anyone in that building who still wanted to be better. 2 weeks passed, but the hotel did not feel calm. It felt like a place holding its breath. Stephen built a routine because routine was how you survived pressure. Every morning, he walked the halls and checked the wards with 2 fingers and a quiet spell. Orange lines lit up for a second, then faded. He listened for changes in the air. He watched for the wrong kind of silence, the kind that meant someone was hiding a move. Charlie tried to keep the hotel running like a real hotel. She made schedules. She greeted guests with a bright voice that sometimes shook at the end. She kept putting up posters about redemption, even when someone ripped them down. Vaggie took over security like it was a war job, because to her, it was. She posted watch shifts. She set simple rules. She drilled escape paths. She made sure nobody wandered alone after dark. Angel Dust joked less now. He still joked. He needed that. But his eyes were sharper. He started noticing corners and rooftops. He started walking people back to their rooms without being asked, then acting like it was no big deal. Husk pretended he didn't care, then quietly fixed a broken door latch and left a spare key where Charlie would find it. Nifty cleaned twice as fast and shouted at Dust like Dust was the enemy. And in the middle of it all, in a room sealed with careful symbols, the ledger sat inside a ward circle like a trapped animal. Stephen studied it in short bursts. He never stared too long. He never touched it without a barrier spell between skin and cover. He watched the way the pages twitched when someone said certain words nearby. Names made it hungry. The first time Charlie brought him a stack of guest forms as a joke, the ledger's cover shifted a fraction of an inch, like it had heard the word form and wanted to laugh. Angel Dust had leaned in, grin wide. "Come on, Doc. Sign one, for fun." Stephen hadn't looked up from his wards. "No," Angel had laughed. "You say that like it's your catchphrase." "It is," Husk had muttered, passing by with a drink. "He won't even sign the bar tab." Stephen had finally glanced at Husk. "I would, if I wrote it." Husk had raised an eyebrow. "So write it." Stephen had paused, then made a small orange lens over the paper and read the tiny print at the bottom. Husk watched his face. "Well?" Stephen slid the paper back. "No." Husk had sighed like he respected the stubbornness and hated it at the same time. The gag was funny until it wasn't, because hell didn't joke when it offered paper. Hell hunted with paper. One night, Stephen felt the ledger pull. It wasn't a physical pull. It was like a thought tugging at the edge of his mind, like a hook trying to catch a piece of him. He stepped into the wardroom at once, cloak snapping behind him. The ledger's cover was half open. A page had flipped by itself, and on that page, in faint ink that wasn't ink, a word was forming again. "Doctor." Stephen's throat tightened. He lifted his orange lens and looked closer. Tiny lines of script crawled under the surface, guessing and guessing. The ledger wanted a full name. It wanted a key. Stephen closed his hand and tightened the ward circle. The symbols on the floor brightened, then steadied. "Not today," he said quietly. A soft knock came at the door. Charlie entered carefully, like she knew this room was not a normal room. Her eyes went to the ledger at once. Did it do something? Stephen didn't lie. "It tried." Charlie swallowed. "Can it get your name?" "It can try to learn," Stephen said. "It reacts to words it hears. It reacts to attention. It reacts to power." Charlie's face tightened. "Then we just keep it locked forever?" Stephen stared at the ledger. "Forever is a long time." Charlie stepped closer, stopping at the edge of the ward circle. "Stephen, I hate that this is part of my world." He looked at her. He saw the guilt again, heavy and stubborn. "It's part of it," he said. but it doesn't have to control all of it. Charlie's eyes flicked up. That's what I keep saying. Stephen nodded once. And that's why you're still standing. Charlie's lips trembled. Then she forced a smile. Okay, so what do we do now? Before Stephen could answer, the hallway lights flickered. Not electricity. Not a normal flicker. A shift. Stephen felt it like a cold line down his spine. Someone powerful had crossed into the hotel. He turned toward the door. Stay behind me. Charlie nodded, but she didn't step back as far as he wanted. They walked into the lobby together. And there, leaning against the front desk like he owned the building, was Lucifer Morningstar. He looked relaxed. Too relaxed. His smile was easy. Like he was enjoying the idea that everyone here was on edge. Vaggie was already in front of Charlie with her spear up. Angel Dust hovered behind a couch, pretending he wasn't nervous. Husk stood near the stairs, eyes narrowed, drink forgotten. Alastair was there too, of course, smiling with quiet delight like someone had served him dessert. Lucifer's gaze slid to Stephen. It stopped on the cloak, then on Stephen's hands. You're the one, Lucifer said, voice smooth and bright. The visitor. Stephen didn't bow. He didn't flinch. And you're the one who didn't show up during the attack. Lucifer's smile did not move, but something in his eyes sharpened. I have responsibilities. Charlie stepped forward, past Vaggie's guard line. Dad, Lucifer lifted a hand. Not now, Charlie. Charlie froze. The way he said it wasn't cruel, but it was heavy, like a door closing. Lucifer looked back at Stephen. We should talk. Vaggie's grip tightened. No. Lucifer didn't even glance at her spear. Yes. Stephen stepped slightly in front of Charlie. Here, in public. Lucifer's smile widened. You're cautious. I like that. He leaned closer, voice dropping just enough to feel private without actually being private. You're sitting on a piece of hell's oldest binding machinery, and you're acting like you can keep it in a box. Stephen's eyes narrowed. I can. Lucifer's expression stayed amused. For now. Charlie's voice was tight. Dad, why are you here? Lucifer looked at her, and for a moment his face softened. It was quick. It was real. Then it was gone again. Because heaven moved early, he said. Because overlords are sniffing around my daughter's hotel. And because a foreign magician fell into my realm and made the sky notice. Stephen felt the truth in that. Lucifer wasn't guessing. He knew. Lucifer gestured toward the hallway. Private room. 5 minutes. Vaggie snapped. Absolutely not. Stephen raised a hand toward Vaggie. Calm. I'll go, and I'll keep it short. Vaggie glared at him like she hated agreeing. I'm coming. Lucifer laughed. Of course you are. They went into Stephen's warded room, because it was the only place in the hotel that felt like it had rules Stephen understood. Lucifer stepped inside and paused as the wards brushed his presence. Oh, he said lightly. Cute. Stephen didn't react. Say what you came to say. Lucifer turned, hands in his pockets. You want to go home? Stephen didn't answer. Lucifer smiled. You do. It's fine. Anyone would. And I can help. Charlie's breath caught. Vaggie's eyes widened, then tightened with suspicion. Stephen's voice stayed even. How? Lucifer glanced toward the sealed ward circle where the ledger rested. This place runs on consent and contracts. You've noticed. You've refused. Very strong will. Very noble. His tone made noble sound like a toy. Lucifer continued anyway. If you write the right terms, you can force the ledger to behave. You can lock the tear. You can even build a doorway back to your home reality. Charlie stepped forward, hopeful. Really? Lucifer looked at her, then looked away. Yes. but it has a price. Vaggy's voice was sharp. There it is. Lucifer's smile returned. Smart girl. He faced Stephen again. The price is simple. You stop acting like an outside judge. You stop poking at Hell's core systems. You protect the hotel if you wish. You protect Charlie if you wish. But you do not try to rewrite what Hell is. Charlie's face fell. Dad. Lucifer lifted a hand again. Charlie, you're not in this conversation. That hit harder than a blade. Stephen's jaw tightened. He kept his voice calm, but it was colder now. You want me to stay in my lane? I want you to survive, Lucifer said, because heaven doesn't tolerate anomalies, and overlords don't tolerate free assets. You think you can stand here and be nobody's peace? That's not how this realm works. Vaggy stepped forward. He's not an asset. Lucifer finally glanced at her. His gaze was bright and sharp. Everything is an asset to someone. Charlie's voice shook. He helped us. He saved people. Lucifer looked at her again, softer for a blink. Yes, and now he will attract more attention than you can handle. Stephen felt the trap in Lucifer's offer. It wasn't just help. It was a leash made of kindness. Stephen spoke clearly. What do you want, Lucifer? Lucifer's smile thinned. Control. Charlie flinched. Lucifer shrugged like it was obvious. Stability. This city is messy. Heaven slaughters. Overlords exploit. My daughter dreams. And then you arrived and added a new kind of danger. Stephen's eyes stayed hard. And you think I should leave? Lucifer's grin returned. I think you should choose a side that can keep you alive. Stephen breathed in once, steady. I choose not to be anyone's weapon. Lucifer tilted his head. Even if it sends you home? Stephen did not hesitate. Even then. Charlie's eyes widened. Vaggy's mouth tightened like she respected it and feared it. Lucifer stared at Stephen for a long moment. The air felt heavier, like hell itself leaned in to listen. Then Lucifer laughed softly. You really are a doctor, always refusing the easy option. Stephen didn't smile. The easy option is often the wrong one. Lucifer stepped closer, voice quieter now. Then here's my advice. Someone will try to force your name out of you. Someone will try to bind you. They'll use fear. They'll use hope. They'll use Charlie. Charlie's breath hitched. Stephen's eyes flicked to her at once. Lucifer's gaze followed it, and for a moment, his expression turned unreadable. Don't let them. Then Lucifer turned toward the door. 5 minutes are up. My offer stands until it doesn't. He paused at the threshold and looked back at Stephen. If you decide to write terms into that ledger, remember this. Ink doesn't care about your pride. Ink cares about what you agree to. Then he left. The room felt colder after he was gone. Charlie stood very still. He talked about me like I wasn't even here. Vaggy moved closer to Charlie, protective and furious. He does that. Stephen watched Charlie's face. He saw hurt. He saw anger. He saw the same stubborn hope trying to crawl back up. He spoke carefully. Lucifer isn't wrong about one thing. Charlie looked at him, eyes wet. Which thing? People will use what you care about, Stephen said. That's how control works. Charlie wiped her cheeks quickly, like she didn't want to give the tears any space. Then we don't let them. Stephen nodded. Then we don't. The next attack did not start with blades. It started with noise. One afternoon, the city outside the hotel brightened in a way that made no sense. Screens in nearby streets flashed the same image at once, a simple symbol, a glowing orange circle. Then Vox's voice poured out of every speaker the hotel could hear, like the city itself had turned into a mouth. Hell! Vox shouted with joy. You want a show? I have a show! Come see the hotel that draws angels like flies! Come see the mystery man who thinks he can say no to contracts! Vaggie cursed under her breath. She was already moving people inside. Charlie ran to the lobby windows and peeked out. There are crowds. Angel Dust's voice went tight. He's baiting us. Stephen felt it too. The crowd wasn't just curious. Curiosity in hell had teeth. Crowds meant attention. Attention fed the systems. And the ledger in the wardroom pulsed once, like a heartbeat answering a drum. Stephen turned away from the window. Everyone, inside, away from the doors. Husk appeared at the stairs, eyes narrowed. You got a plan, Doc? Stephen's voice was calm. Yes. Nifty zipped by with a bucket. Do we need mops? I feel like we need mops. Angel Dust grabbed her gently by the shoulders. Sweetie, this is not a mop moment. A deep thump hit the hotel wall. Then another. Then the sound of metal scraping across stone. Vaggie looked toward the impact. They're trying to break in. Stephen felt the pattern. Not heaven's clean force. Not like Adam. This was a hell strike. Overlords. He moved fast, hands rising. Orange lines spread through the hotel's foundation like a web. The wards brightened, then locked. Outside, the front door shook as something slammed into them. A voice boomed from speakers across the street. Valentino's voice, laughing. Open up, princess. We just want to talk. Charlie's face went pale. No. Vaggie stepped forward, spear ready. He's here. The Warhammer lobby lights flickered. Then a window exploded inward. Not with glass, but with a wave of smoke and glowing wires, like the air had turned into a cable. Vox. He didn't walk in. His presence came through screens, through speakers, through the building's own electronics. His grin showed up on a dozen flickering surfaces at once. Hello, hotel, Vox purred. I brought friends. The wall behind the front desk cracked as a heavy shape hit it from outside. Not a person at first. A battering ram made of metal and muscle, carried by demons with blank eyes and ink-stained hands. Valentino's goons. Stephen felt something else too, sharp and clean, above the roof. His stomach tightened. Heaven, he said. Vaggie's head snapped up. Already? A line of pale light opened in the sky, thin at first, then widening. Exorcists began to drop. Not a full army, a precision team. And at the front, Adam's voice rang like a cruel bell. Found you. Charlie's breath caught. Oh no. Stephen's mind moved like a chessboard on fire. 2 threats, 2 angles, 1 hotel. He had to split the field. Charlie, he said, voice steady. Get everyone to the back halls. Vaggie, cover her. Angel, stay with them. Angel Dust blinked. What? No, I can... Stephen cut in, not harsh, just firm. Protect people, that's the job. Angel swallowed, then nodded. Okay. Okay. Husk looked at Stephen. And you? Stephen's eyes were already glowing faintly. I hold the line. He lifted both hands and snapped a spell outward. The lobby stretched. Walls pulled apart without breaking. The space unfolded like a controlled illusion, but it was more than illusion. A mirror-like containment layer wrapped around the hotel's front half, separating it from the rest. The front doors shattered, but the demons that rushed in hit an orange barrier and slammed back, confused. Vox's screens flickered wildly. Ooh, new set design! Stephen didn't answer. He opened portals in the ceiling. Exorcists dropped through the roof, tear, and fell into portals that redirected them into empty containment pockets instead of onto hotel floors. Adam dropped last, blade blazing. He hit the ground inside Stephen's mirror space lobby and grinned like he was happy. Miss me? Stephen met his eyes. You're early again. Adam laughed. I make my own schedule. The lobby shook as Valentino's ram hit the barrier again. Vox's voice laughed from every angle. Okay, this is perfect. Heaven and hell both want him. Who wins? Place your bets. Stephen ignored him. He focused on Adam, because Adam was the immediate knife. Adam lunged. Stephen raised a shield. The blade struck, white against orange, and the impact rang. Adam pushed harder, teeth bared. Give me your name. Stephen's voice was calm. No. Adam shoved, trying to force the shield down. Then I'll take it. Stephen moved his hands in a fast circle. A binding ring snapped around Adam's ankles and yanked his footing sideways. Adam stumbled a step, then burst free with raw force. He grinned wider. You're fun. Stephen didn't trade insults. He opened a portal behind Adam and tried to drop him into a containment pocket. Adam twisted, avoided it, and threw his blade. The blade cut through the air toward Stephen's chest. Stephen snapped a portal open in front of it. The blade vanished into the portal and reappeared behind Adam's head. Adam barely ducked. The blade struck the floor and stuck, humming. Adam's eyes widened a fraction, then he laughed. Nice! Stephen's mind kept calculating. He could keep Adam busy. He could keep heaven contained. He could slow hell at the barrier. But the ledger, he felt it. The ledger was reacting to the pressure, to the names shouted, to the attention Vox was pouring into the street. It pulsed harder, hungry. And somewhere in the noise, Vox's voice slipped into a sharper tone. Come on, mystery man, Vox cooed. Tell the city who you are. Say it. Just once. Stephen's jaw tightened. He realized the true trap. They weren't just trying to break the hotel. They were trying to force a public naming, a broadcasted identity, a name that the ledger could catch like a hook. Charlie's voice echoed faintly from the back halls, yelling for people to move. He heard fear in it, but also command. Vaggie shouted orders too, hard and clear. They were doing their part. Now, he had to do his. Stephen made a decision that tasted like risk. He could keep fighting forever until someone slipped past him. Or he could shut the ledger's hunger down in a way that would last. He had refused to sign every deal, but he had never refused to write. He pivoted mid-fight. He opened a portal to the wardroom and stepped through, dragging Adam with a binding ribbon that snapped onto Adam's wrist like a leash. Adam resisted, but the pull caught him off balance for a beat. Stephen used that beat. They spilled into the wardroom. The ledger pulsed inside its circle like it was thrilled. Adam laughed. What's this? Your little book? Stephen didn't answer him. He raised both hands and slammed a hard shield between Adam and the ward circle. Adam struck it at once, roaring. Stephen didn't push back with strength. He pushed back with structure. He layered the shield. 3 layers. 5. 7. Then he turned his head and called out, voice loud enough to carry through the portal. Vaggie! A second later, Vaggie burst in, spear raised, eyes wild. She took one look at Adam and swore. What do you need? She demanded. Hold him, Stephen said. Vaggie stared. With what? Stephen glanced at her spear. With your stubbornness. Vaggie's mouth tightened. Fine. She slammed her spear into the floor and braced it against the wall, using it like a lever. She pinned Adam's path, not by overpowering him, but by blocking his best angles. Adam snarled and swung. Vaggie dodged, then shoved the spear back into place. You're not getting past, she spat. Adam laughed. You think you can stop me? Vaggie's eyes burned. I don't have to stop you forever. I just have to stop you long enough. Stephen felt a surge of respect. He moved to the ledger circle. Charlie's voice echoed from the hall. Stephen! Charlie appeared in the doorway, eyes wide. She saw Adam. She saw Vaggie bracing. She saw the ledger. Then she stepped in anyway. Charlie, no, Vaggie snapped. Charlie shook her head. I'm staying. Stephen didn't argue. He just gave her a quick instruction. Stand at the door. Don't let anyone follow us in. Charlie nodded, hands glowing. Got it. Stephen knelt beside the ward circle and pulled out a small strip of blank paper from his own kit. Clean paper. His paper. He placed it on the floor and traced a circle around it with orange light. Then he did something he had avoided since he arrived. He spoke a truth that carried weight. I'm Dr. Stephen Strange. Charlie's eyes widened like lightning struck her brain. Wait, Dr. Strange? Angel Dust's voice yelled from down the hall. Holy, he's got a superhero name! Vox's laugh surged through the walls, faint but hungry, like he was trying to listen through stone. Stephen didn't care about Vox now. He cared about the ledger. The ledger reacted hard. Its pages flipped inside the ward circle like a storm. Ink that wasn't ink rushed toward the circle line, trying to climb out. Stephen slammed his palm down on his own paper and wrote with orange light. Not a pen. He wrote his name, not as a surrender, as an author. He wrote clear terms in simple language, because simple terms were harder to twist. This ledger may not record my name without my direct choice. This ledger may not bind any soul without true consent. This ledger may not use fear, force, or trickery as consent. This ledger may not spread names through broadcast or echo. These terms are enforced by Stephen Strange. The moment he finished, the ward circle flared bright. The ledger screamed without sound. The pages snapped open to the place where it had tried to guess doctor. The letters burned away like paper touched by a hot iron. Vox's voice outside cut into a harsh, static whine. Screens in the street went dark one by one. Valentino's laughing shout turned into garbled noise. The pressure in the air shifted, like a fist unclenching. Adam felt it too. He paused mid-swing, eyes narrowing. What did you do? Stephen rose slowly, breathing hard. I wrote rules, Adam snarled. Rules don't apply to me. Stephen looked at him, calm and exhausted. Everything has rules, even if you pretend it doesn't. Adam lunged again. But something had changed. His blade still hit hard. His force was still terrifying. Yet the space around the ledger no longer fed on chaos. It no longer pulled at names like a starving mouth. Stephen had cut off the hunger. He turned his hand and opened a portal behind Adam. Then another beneath Adam's feet. This time, the portals held smoother. The sticky resistance was less. Adam's footing slipped. Vaggie shoved with the spear. Charlie blasted with a focused burst of heat and light, not to kill, but to push. Adam fell through the portal. Stephen closed it with a snap. Silence hit like a wall. Not peace, but a pause. Stephen swayed slightly. The cloak wrapped tighter around his shoulders. Vaggie kept her spear up anyway. Her chest rose and fell hard. Is he gone? For now, Stephen said. Charlie stared at the ledger. It sat quiet now, like an animal finally pinned. She looked at Stephen, eyes shining. You said your full name. Stephen nodded. Yes. Charlie's voice was soft. That was dangerous. Stephen's mouth tightened. It was necessary. Vaggie stepped closer, still wary. So now hell knows who you are. Stephen met her gaze. Hell already knew I existed. Now the ledger can't steal the rest. Charlie swallowed. And heaven? Stephen's eyes flicked to the ceiling, feeling the sky. Heaven heard it. But heaven can't bind it through this book anymore. Vaggie's brow furrowed. You're sure? Stephen looked at the terms he had written, glowing faintly on the floor like a seal. As sure as I can be. A distant roar echoed outside, furious, bright and far away. Adam, somewhere in the open air again, still angry, still alive, Still planning. Then another sound rose. Crowds shouting. Screens dying. Confusion spreading. The overlords would retreat for now. Not because they were kind. Because the cleanest leash they wanted had snapped out of their hands. Charlie exhaled like she had been holding her breath for weeks. Vaggie stared at Stephen for a long moment, then finally lowered her spear an inch. Not trust. Not fully. But something close. "You really don't sign anything you didn't write," she said. Stephen nodded. "I warned you." Charlie gave a small laugh that sounded like relief trying to pretend it was humor. "Okay, Dr. Strange." The name felt strange in her mouth. Like a legend, she wasn't sure she was allowed to say. Stephen looked toward the door. "We still have to finish securing the hotel." Charlie straightened at once. "Right." Vaggie smirked faintly. "Back to work." And just like that, the hotel moved again. People ran. Orders got shouted. Barriers got checked. Injured got treated. Rooms got locked. Life continued, because that's what it did. Even in hell. Even under heaven's eyes. On the rooftop that night, the air was quieter than usual. Not silent. The city never went silent. But the harsh buzz of screens felt weaker, like someone had turned down a speaker. Stephen stood near the edge, looking out across Pentagram City. Orange light flickered faintly around his fingers as he checked a small tear in the air, no bigger than a coin. It tried to form sometimes when the world was stressed. He pinched it shut gently with 2 fingers, and a calm spell. Charlie stepped out onto the roof and stopped a few feet away, giving him space. "You didn't go home," she said. Stephen didn't look at her at first. "No." "You could have," Charlie said. "Your dad made it sound like you could." Stephen turned his head. His face was tired, but steady. "Lucifer offered me a path, not a clean one." Charlie hugged herself against the wind. "So you stayed because... duty?" Stephen thought for a moment. He chose a simple answer. "Because people were going to get hurt if I left." Charlie nodded slowly. "Yeah." They stood in silence for a few seconds. Then Charlie spoke again, softer. "When you said your name, I felt like the whole world listened." Stephen's eyes went to the sky. "It did." Charlie swallowed. "Are you scared?" Stephen's answer was honest. "I'm alert." Charlie let out a small breath that sounded like a laugh trying not to break. "That's such a you answer." Stephen almost smiled. Charlie stepped closer, still not crowding him. "I know you don't believe in easy hope." Stephen looked at her. "I believe in earned hope." Charlie nodded like she accepted that. Then, "Will you help me earn it?" Stephen watched her face. She was afraid. She was stubborn. She was still choosing kindness in a place that punished it. "Yes," he said. Charlie's shoulders relaxed just a little. "Okay." Below them, the hotel windows glowed warm. Inside, people argued. People laughed. People fought. People tried. The legend of the wizard at the princess's hotel would spread. Heaven would plan smarter. Overlords would plot quieter. Alastair would smile and wait for the next surprise. But for this moment, the roof was calm. Stephen looked down at his hands, then back at the horizon. He had not fixed hell. He had not ended the slaughter from above. He had not solved every rule in a single day. But he had written a line in the system that said, "You don't get to steal names for free." Charlie leaned on the railing beside him. "So, what now?" she asked. Stephen's gaze stayed on the city. "Now, we keep the hotel standing." Charlie nodded. "And the Redemption Project?" Stephen glanced at her. "And the Redemption Project." Charlie smiled, small but real. Stephen turned back to the skyline. The wind tugged at his cloak like it approved. He closed another tiny tear that tried to form, quick and clean, then let his hands fall. The night continued, just different now, because someone was holding the line.